Okay. Okay, there are two basic strategies, methodologies basically used in programming. There are more than two, but these are kind of very famous. So the first one is procedural programming. Procedural programming. And the second one is object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming. So anyway, in both concepts, these are two concepts. So these are two basic concepts of programming. Two main concepts of programming. Okay, then when you have procedural programming, so there are many, right? Object-based programming, functional-oriented programming, reuse-oriented programming. Likewise, there are a number of other methods. But the thing is, basically, we focus on two things: procedural programming, which focuses on implementation, focuses on the process, focuses on the process, and the second one is focusing. This is focuses on the objects, sorry, classes, objects, and message passing. So that's the difference. So for an example, okay, let's say you want to, you want to deposit money, or you want to write a program. Let's say you want to write a program to print odd numbers from 1 to 10. You want to write a program to print odd numbers from 1 to 10, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That is the output. So targeting the output, what you can do is you can just start coding and you can write the program targeting or generating this output. So process is basically you can start from 1, then 1 plus, then that number plus 2 is the next one, then 3 plus 2 is 5. Likewise, you focus only about the process. We call procedural programming. But in the other hand, the more complex programs are done using object-oriented way. Means, for an example, you have, okay, let's say you want to write a program for accounting to actually create bank account. So then you consider about, so what are the objects or the classes? So basically in this, you mention the class name account. This is the second concept. Class name account, and in account you have account ID and balance and account type, account holder details, and maybe interest rate. So those are the things belongs to account. And you can deposit money, withdraw money, and maybe you can view the balance. These are the things that you can do. So this is called a class. Class is a blueprint or template for a set of similar types of objects. Class is a template or blueprint for a set of similar types of objects. So here this is class name. So let me write in front of this. This is called class, sorry. This is called class name. Class name, then you have attributes or the features, and then you have methods or functions. Class name, then you have features and methods and functions. So this is the second type. So this is called object-oriented programming. You think about the class and its methods as well as its attributes and its methods. This is the second type. Here you can create any number of accounts from this account class. So, okay, can you tell me account balance of account class? Can you tell me the balance of this account? What is the balance?
Like
Balance.
any
I just
value?
want to check the balance. I want you to tell the balance of this account. What is the amount, basically?
Like I should say any value?
Yeah, it can be any value. That's what I want. It can be any value, but you don't know the value, no?
Yeah.
You don't know value. It can be some value. Knowing that you have this balance, but you can't tell a figure, that is called class. Because it is template. Template, you can't tell that. But if you create object,
Oh.
right? If you create object of this class, let's write this again. If you create object of this class, you can tell the values. So here you have attributes, methods. When you have the object, you can say account maybe 001 and account ID is 001. Balance is 5,000 rupees and type is savings. An account holder maybe is, and interest rate is 0.08, and you can deposit money, withdraw. So this is called object, right? Object is called is an instance of a class or real life representation. Before we begin, you should have idea about what is a class and what is object. How many objects you can create using a class? How many objects you can create using a class? How many accounts you can create from this account class? How many? Is it one or more or any number?
More. More.
Yeah, it is more. You can create any number of accounts, no limitation. Right? You can create any number of accounts. For an example, student is a class. You can create any number of students from student class. For all these students, all these accounts, account is the template. Understood? For all these
Right.
accounts, account is the template. Template is called class. And real life representation is called, or instant is called object. Object has values. Class, you cannot see the values. Object has values. Class, you cannot see the values. This concept is called object-oriented programming. It's a bit complex than procedural. Procedural programming, you do nothing. You start and you say account ID equal 10. You can start like this, account ID equal and balance equal 0. Likewise, you just start writing the code, or you just start writing the program without considering what are the classes, what are the objects, who are participating. Likewise, without considering that, you just write all these things as a process, because you know how to do that. This focus how to do something, but this second one, who are the participants? Who are the participants and what they are doing? It focus many concepts, many aspects like that. So here it focuses only on the process. For a small scale program, small scale software, procedural programming is better. But for large scale one, you have to use object oriented programming, that is supporting large scale project, expandable projects, because this is kind of more structured. But for a small scale one, you can use procedural programming. Understood the concept?
Yes, sir.
You need time to write down, or
I'll just note some things down.
right? Okay. Then shall I move to the next one?
Give me 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Sequences in it goes by one, next
Yeah.
by next.
There are three control structures in programming based on the data flow and decisions. The sequence is instructions are executed one after the another. We call sequence. The second one is selection. Instruction flow is selected based on a decision. This is like how students come from grade 1 to grade 11. They just pass grade 1 and then they go to grade 2, then grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, likewise. It's order, it's a sequence. But when they are in grade 11, basically, most of the government school and government syllabus, I think it's same for you as well. You have to select A-level subject scheme. You can select only one scheme, basically. You're not allowed to select multiple schemes unless that's a special case. For an example, some students are doing maths, some students are doing biology, some are doing commerce, some are doing IT or technological subjects. Likewise, you have to select a path. Or so second way of informing this, second way of explaining this is, so assume that you are just passing through, or you are just coming to your maybe to your school, or you are going Colombo somewhere. Then first of all, you have to pass one place one by one, the whole bus halls and all, or train stations. You have to pass one by one by one. Assume that you are traveling from Kandy to Colombo. First, you pass Peradeniya, then Sarasavina, likewise, you come one by one. So first basically Sarasavina, then Peradeniya. In Peradeniya, you have to select whether to go to Badulla side or whether to go to Colombo. That's a selection. You cannot go both directions. To Badulla and Colombo, both directions you can't go. Then you have to select. Again, you come one by one by one by one by one. Then you come to Rabukkan and then to Polgahavela. In Polgahavela, you have to select whether to go to Kurunagala site or whether to go to Colombo site. So likewise, you can select only one. You have to select only one thing. That is selection. The third one is what? What is third one? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Right. Selection means you have to select one path, basically. Then what is repetition? What is next one? What is next one? The third one. Sequence, selection. Can you remember?
Hello?
Can you remember the third one?
Repetition?
Yeah. Repetition.
Like loop.
Yeah, iteration. You then in this step you have to loop through the instructions. Loop through means you have to repeat the data, repeat the instruction flow. Instruction flow is repeated based on a condition. So here we have to learn, yes, here we have to learn if else, then switch case, right? In repetition, you have to learn for loop, while loop. These are the things coming under repetition. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So you need time to write down, or shall we move to the example?
Examples.
Okay, example. Right, sequence. Let's say here in sequence, give me 1 minute, right? Let's discuss this with an example. Okay, I'm going to use this same thing. This I have used for some separate class, but I'm going to use the same example. So let's say sequence. My example is input three numbers and find the total and average. Input three numbers and find the print the total and average. And here the inputs are number one, number two, and number three. Inputs are number two, number one, number two, number three, and you have to start with the inputs, and you have to stop after printing total and average. And outputs are total and average. And how to calculate total? Total equal number one plus number two plus number three, and average is total divided by three. Is there any decisions?
No.
No, no decisions. What you have to do is you have just calculate. The process is there, calculate and print. Okay. Can you remember this kind of thing, the diagramming tool that you have used in your, maybe you have used in your schools? There's a diagramming tool called flowchart.
Yeah.
Right. In the flowchart, so can you remember the symbols? So what is the symbol
Yes.
used for input and output?
The
Parallelogram. It is called parallelogram.
paragraph.
All right. Then what is the symbol used for process?
The square. The rectangle.
Rectangle. So what is the symbol used for? Symbol used for decision.
The decision, as in, is it the diamond?
Yeah, it's diamond. It's diamond. I think you can remember. Okay. So then, if you can remember that, that's good. So then, to do this, this is the flow chart. You have to start. Then you have to input number one, number two, and number three. Then you have to find the total and average. Then print the total and average and stop. And if you write, this is called, what is this code? The code is called, this code has a name. This is not working, but just to explain what's happening. This code has a name. Can you remember the name? After the flow chart, this is called flow chart. You're correct. Flow chart. And this has another name. What is this? Can you remember the name of
Algorithm.
this? Huh?
Algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm is given using something called, can you remember something like this?
Oh, pseudocode.
Yes, pseudocode. Pseudocode means, pseudocode means it's, the code is basically not working, but just to explain what's happening, that is called pseudocode. So to do this,
Right.
so to do input three numbers and print the average and total, this is the flowchart. This is pseudocode. Pseudocode, you have input three numbers and then find out the total and average and print the total and average and end. So that is the, so I think it's better if you can write the question, draw the flowchart and pseudocode, and then we can discuss about the Python code, because this is common for any language. Do
Right.
you have this part in A levels? I think you have, no?
Which ones? The flowchart and
Yeah,
pseudocode.
flowchart pseudocode.
Yes.
All right. So can you quickly write down this one? No need to write this one. This is not really required input and output, because you can recognize that. But what is required is this flowchart and pseudocode. Can you write the question, flowchart and pseudocode quickly?
Okay.
If you finish, then we can move to the real code. So let's go and study the real code, which is Python code. So you have ideally, I have to take a new file, new file. This is my new file, it's completely blank document, empty. And I'm going to write the same thing. So no need to write begin. I will write like this, N1. So, you know, in Python, we discussed last day, no declarations are there.
Yeah.
Right. Therefore, I'll in a comment I'll mention N1. This is equal to number one. So it's ethical to write the comments. It's good practice to write a comment and start. Then in everyone knows these are the things. Number one, number two, and three. Then so also you have dot. It's going to be total and AVG equal average. So these are the inputs. These are the inputs.
Yeah.
Let's write inputs, and then these are the outputs. It's better to explain the program, then anyone can understand this. So I'm going to take number one, N1, input. I'm going to give a message, enter number one. Similar to that, I'm going to get other two numbers, number one, number two, number three, and number three.
Mhm.
Then the total equal N1 plus N2 plus N3. Total equal N1 plus N2 plus N3, and average equal total divided by 3. Then what you are going to do, you are going to print the total. Let's give with the message, total is, comma, total, and then print the average. Average is the average. So this is how you are going to write the program. You are going to take the inputs, calculate total, and find the total and average. So don't write this. There's a small error. I'll explain that. Don't write this. I'm going to save this as sequence seq.py. Okay, let's save this and run this. So it will prompt me and ask, enter number one. I'm going to enter number one, enter number two, enter number three, but it gives an error. So you know Python is what, interpreted or compiled? Python compile the when, interpret the when. Is it compiled or interpreted? What's the difference between both? What is compiled and what is interpreted? What's the difference?
Difference
Anyway,
between
Python is a high
compiling.
level language. You need to translate this language to machine language, no? Otherwise, machine cannot understand. So we have two mechanisms, two basic mechanisms of converting this to machine code. One is using a compiler, the second one is using an interpreter.
Yeah.
So in Python, which is used? Compiler or interpreter or both?
Compiler.
No, it uses interpreter. If it uses compiler, what will happen? The entire program will be compiled at once, and before you run, it will give the error.
Oh.
Right? Before, because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
compiler will convert all the everything at once. No, before you run, it will give an error. But first three lines, no error. It allow me to run. The next line only the error is going to come. So which is the str cannot be converted to these unsupported operand types. Because here this line, so it's line 15, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. 15 is this one. This is where it's going to give us an error. Up to this level it's okay, but this will give an error. Why? Str means string, int means integer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So remember that. So if I skip this one, let's comment this one, and let's comment this one too, and I'm going to run this again. I just want to show you this. Number one, number two, number three, and you can see the total. Is it correct or wrong? Is it correct total or wrong total?
That's wrong.
Wrong. Why? What has happened?
I think it has multiplied, maybe.
No, it's not multiply. Here 34 is here. This 34, it's here.
Oh no, it didn't add. It just put them together.
Yeah, put them together. That is called concatenation. Right? That has a
Right.
special word. That word is called concatenation. In VB, and mark is used for concatenation, not plus. In VB, and mark is used for concatenation. Here it's plus, right? So even though,
Ah,
so yeah, we expected that the error will be given in the total, but it is given in the average. Why? Total is correct. Syntactically it's correct, but semantically it's
okay.
wrong. What is that? Syntactically correct, semantically wrong. Syntactically correct means this will do something. This will process. Compiler or
Yeah,
the interpreter will not recognize this as an error. But logically it's wrong. Logically we expected the integer total, no? Logically we
yeah.
expected the integer total. But it has given us the concatenated output. This is not our expectation. So that means this is syntactically correct. Syntactically correct means right statements. Nothing wrong in these statements. All the statements are correct. But this produce logically wrong answer. Semantically, it's wrong. So you should know these terms, right? What is syntax error? Syntax error means something like this. This is not acceptable. This is wrong statement. That is syntax error. Then if it is
Mhm.
here, this is recognized, this interpreter executes this. It recognizes this as a valid statement, but still the answer is wrong. That is logical error. We call semantic, which is more difficult to detect, syntax or semantics, which is more difficult to detect,
Mm,
syntax error or semantic error. Yes, which is more difficult to detect, syntax error or semantic error.
mm,
If it is syntax error, it will be detected by the interpreter itself, no?
right.
Interpreter itself, it's telling there's an error. But if it is semantic error, will interpreter tell us?
No.
No, we have to think. We have to identify. For an example, okay, assume that you are flying a kite or you are flying a flight. You are planning to fly
Okay.
a remote flight. Okay. If it is syntactically something wrong in the flight, circuit-wise, if something wrong, it will not start flying. It will stop flying. But assume there's a logical error. When you ask to turn right, it is turning left. When you ask to turn left, it is turning right, the other way. That is a logical error. Then what will happen? When after flying only, you will understand that. That is dangerous. Why? The syntax error will not allow you to run the code, but semantic error will allow you to run the code. When you are running only, you can detect the semantic issue. Understood?
Right.
Right? I think
Yeah.
you better put a note and write what is syntax, what is semantic error.
Yeah.
Syntax error means error in a code where interpreter or compiler will detect that. Semantic error means error in the logic. Compilers and interpreters cannot identify that. Semantics means error in the logic. Compilers and interpreters cannot identify that. Please write down.
Compiler. Yes.
Okay. So this will generate. Here I'll write as a comment. This will generate semantic error. So maybe so okay. For an example, in English, you can tell like that. In English, if something is wrong grammatically, or if something is grammatically wrong, we can call syntax error.
Yeah.
If I'm using a wrong grammar or wrong spellings, likewise, that is syntax error. You can detect that. But if it is grammatically correct but carrying a wrong meaning, that is semantic error.
Right.
Right? For an example, අර කියනවා මේ සිංහල මේවල කියනවා මේ එක මොකද්ද හිස්ටරි වල තියෙන එක තැනක මැසේජ් එකක් දුන්නලු මේ මරන්න මරන්න එපා නිදහස් කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට ඒක කියවලා තියෙන්නේ මරන්න කමා එපා නිදහස් කරන්න කියලා තමයි කියවලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? හැබැයි ඇත්තම මැසේජ් එක වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මරන්න එපා නිදහස් කරන්න කියන එක. So you can see
Oh, yeah.
that is kind of semantic error, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is statement wise it's correct, but it might carry dangerous wrong meaning. So this is what a semantic
Right.
error. So here this will never give you a wrong, it will never tell you this is wrong, but it will give you a wrong answer. So to stop that, what you have to do, so you have to think about your inputs. If your inputs are integers, you have to put int here. Sorry, you have to put int. You have to convert to int. If your inputs are integer, you have to convert that to int by just bracketing this with int function. So the int is a function, right? Int is a function. This int function will convert the string input here, str input to int. But if you expect your inputs to be like decimal numbers, you can mention float. So you can either use int or float. It depends on your domain. If you are going to enter integer marks only, then you can make it integer. But if you're going to enter decimal numbers or fractional values, you can make it float, right? Then you
Right.
can remove this part, because then it will not generate the semantic error. Why? So now the addition will happen for these floats. So let me run the code. Now the addition will happen for the float, and when I put some numbers, I can put like float in points, anything, then addition will happen to these things. Then the answer is correct, and then you can execute this part too. So this addition only has two meanings, right? Addition has two meanings. One is concatenation, the second one is addition. But division, it doesn't like that. Division has a mathematical meaning only. That's why this addition is dangerous, because addition can be used for concatenation. That means adding strings together as well as adding numbers together. Same addition.
Right.
But in VB, you have two syntax. Plus is for mathematical addition and N is for logical addition. So this concatenation. But in Python, you have only one for both. String can be added. Also, integers or floats can be added. But division is not like that. String cannot be divided. That's why it has detected that strings cannot be divided. That's why it has detected and given that the unsupported operation division. Strings cannot be divided. It has recognized. So it gave us syntax error. But now everything okay. Now everything okay. I can run this and generate the answers. You can write down the same code. It's running and generating the answers. I can input the numbers and find the total and find the average. So if in your question, if it is given as input three numbers, but it does not mention input integers, it's just three numbers, so float will be okay. Or you can use, I'll put hash and write, or you can use like this, right? Better write down both. You can say n1 equal int. For integer, you can tell like this. So this is the example. This is the example implementation. So I think you find Python easy,
Yeah.
because very few number of lines in the code, right? So if you remove these red color things, those comments, it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines.
Yeah.
It's very
So
simple.
could you repeat the float part, the float and input part?
Float is to give you decimal values. If you want to input decimal values, make it float.
Okay.
If you want to input integer values, all floats you can make is as int. You can change to int.
Okay.
Integers means whole numbers. Float means decimal numbers. Numbers with
Okay.
decimal or fractional points. Understood?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Can you write down?
And then
Okay.
input is input. It will come as you would have to type the number,
Yeah, input
or it
means
would
you have,
display.
yeah, input means, for an example, this is the developer. So for the actually this time I am the developer and I
Mm-hmm.
am the user. But
Yeah,
actual situation, developer and user, two parties no. So here
yeah,
this is the developer. After developer develop this, he will hand over this to the user. Then what will happen once this is handed over? So you can see the path. Okay, users the Suniranjana document sequence. Once it is handed over to the user, okay, forget about the whole scenario. So think that I am the user. So I'm going to my documents, CD documents, and I'm going to run the code. My code is sequence seq.py. So this is the user. Okay, sorry, Python tree seq.py. Okay, it say enter a number. I don't
mm-hmm.
know what is the code. I'm just entering my number. So enter number 3. I'm going to enter my number. Okay, this is the user. Forget about the
Right,
development.
right.
For user, that is an input. Understood?
Yes.
From this is the user side. For the user, that is an input. User can, so in your computer also you can run like this. In Windows computer also you can run. You can either double click and run, and you can, or you can type this Python tree or Python sequence.py, the Python file, and run it. This is a command line program actually. It's a
Right.
command line program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please show how this is actually the developer side, then this is the user side. For the moment, I'm the developer and I'm the user.
Mm-hmm.
Understood or not? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, understood.
Wait, sir, something
You didn't hear.
happened.
Right, okay. So let me show this. Okay, for an example, if I'm going to if I'm going to give you integer numbers,
Mm-hmm.
so total should be integer, no?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it will treat, since you have given float here, it will treat all these as floating point numbers. It will consider as 45.0, 65.0, and 65.0. Then answer will be 175.0. Explicitly, it will be converted to float. Implicitly, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
implicitly, it will be converted to float. Even you give integers, it will be converted to float. Understood?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
If you want to make it integer after calculating, I can make this int. Okay, see now
Right.
what's happening. If I make this int and I'm going to save this and I'm going to run this by giving the command, and I'll give same thing, 65 and 65. Now you can see the answer is 175. That no 0.0 is not there because I have explicitly converted this to total,
Yeah.
right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
understand this, how this happening basically. But if you give integer, if you give integer here, and integer here, right? If you give integer here, so all three integers, and here also you just take the answer like this. So now I'm going to run this by giving floats. I'm going to give 56.7, but it will give an error. Why? Here it says it's not integer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have given 56.7, but it's not integer, right?
Right.
Right. But if you give float, it will support for both.
Both. Right.
If you give float, it will support for both. But Anyway, your answer will also be converted to float, right? Your answer will automatically converted to float. Understood?
Yes.
Right, okay. Finish writing?
I'm still doing the code.
All right. No need to learn multiple languages, but just showing the same thing here. In Pascal, it has declaration part n1, n2, n3, and total as integer, and average as real. Then I have to give the same message similar to this one, the Python one. So here, this is the Python one. Let me import that, insert picture from file. And this is the Python one. Okay, so this is the Python one. So what I want to tell is everything is it's similar. So if you know how to do one thing, just convert into some other. It's not a big thing because here also you had enter number one, enter number two, enter number three, and you have converted the values. Here also you have enter number one, number two, number three, and you have to read that to these n1, n2, n3. Then total equal number one, the same. Average is equal to this. Then right ln, total and right ln, average. Similar to that, here you have print total and print average. Okay,
Yeah.
it's almost similar. Right? In VB also, I could have given the VB also, it's same. But only thing is you have more syntax. But simplest one is Python because it has very few lines. The simplest one is Python, right? Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to the next one. The selection example. Selection, you know that. In selection, what's happening? Basically, selection. So the decision is taken or the data flow, instruction flow is selected based on a condition. Instruction flow is selected based on a condition. That is called selection. In selection, so I have given you an example. So write a pseudocode and draw a flow chart to input three numbers and find the maximum from those. Right? Write the. Okay. So what you have to do now? Input three numbers and find the maximum. Mama. So maximum from those three numbers. Input three numbers. Similar to that, you have to input three numbers and find the maximum. So can you tell how to do this? How to find the maximum? Okay, if you had one number, what is the maximum? Only one.
That number.
That number. So that's the point. That is where we have to start. Okay, this is my flow chart. So input number one. If you had one number, maximum is the particular number. If you had one number, maximum is the particular number. Okay, read this first carefully. Read this. Can see whether you can understand this.
The chart, sir.
Yeah, the chart. Right. Can you just go through the code? So before I explain this, I think better you can go. So my concept is this. So if you have, right, if you have a number, single, if you have one number, so basically that is the maximum. If you have only one number and that is the maximum. That's obvious, no? Obviously, if you have one, that is the maximum. And if you have two, second number, let's enter the second number, then you have to consider the second number with the current maximum. You have to compare the second number n2 with the current maximum. If it is even
Yeah.
greater than the current maximum, that is the number, that is the maximum. Then you have the third input. So can you check whether you can read and understand the same?
Mhm.
So there can be many algorithms other than this. There can be many other algorithms. For an example, you can input all three numbers. So without taking one by one, you can input all three numbers. Then you can compare the first number with the second number. First number and second number compared, and then you can select the maximum between the first and second. So assume that you enter just, okay, these are the three numbers. So all three numbers you can enter together, 45, 67, and 34. All three numbers you entered together. Then you check 45 and 67. Out of that, you select the maximum, that is 67. Then you compare
Oh,
34 and 67. And out of that also 67 is the maximum, so you print the 67. That is another one. Ne? So you can input all
yeah.
three without taking one by one. You can input all three and then compare the first two, find the maximum, and maximum you have to compare with the remaining number. So that is another way. In that case, you have to store all three numbers and compare the numbers. So, but here I have used simple mechanism, simple way. Number one comes, it is the maximum. Number two comes, and after that, compared with number two, if it is large, then the maximum, it is the number maximum now. So then number three comes. After that, you compare with the current maximum with the number three. If it is the maximum will be changed current number, or else it will, there will be no change. And after that, you here it should be stopped, right? So it's my
Yeah.
mistakes. I didn't write stop here, but the here it should be stop. Well, the flowchart
Okay.
again here, the last one should be stop. So this is my mistake. Please don't write that. So here you
Mhm.
have to write stop, right? And before actually stopping, what you have to do? So here the two mistakes are there. One is that you don't have print, you don't have the print maximum part. You have to add that one. So I'm going to add that now. So how I draw this diagram? There's one called a diagramming tool. I'll show this to you. This one, when you search Google, you can find the creately.com. Here, creately.com. Here you can go start drawing now. This is online diagramming tool you can use to draw flowcharts. It has symbols basically. Otherwise, you can even draw
Right.
using your pen and pencil, or you can even draw using MS Word. That doesn't matter,
Mhm.
but this is to draw the charts nicely with colors. You can use this one with the arrows and all. The site is called creately.com.
Right.
So the missing part I'm going to
Oh.
add now. The missing part is I couldn't add this one. Print in, yeah, I couldn't add this one. In my diagram, the last one should be edited as the output, print the maximum, print the maximum, and then the last, this should be stop. Right? This is how you should end the chart. Print the maximum and stop.
Mhm.
This part was missing, right? Let me add the same to my diagram, then I can provide this note to you. Let me
Right.
implement
Thank you.
that. Yeah. You're going to write down this now, or you're going to wait till my note?
I'll wait till you know.
Yeah. Yes, my selection. Yeah, selection. This one, I think it erased the previous one. Yeah, it has erased this one. Sorry. So need to insert here this one. Yeah, it should be something like this. Then only it's correct. It's too small. Okay. Now only it's correct, right?
Yeah.
Because the arrow should come here, and after this point in arrow, then can finish the. So let me group these things together. Right. Okay. Then, so let's try the code. So that's more important. So let's try the code. And this is my pseudocode. And I'll show you this Python code or the Pascal code too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my pseudocode. In pseudocode, I'm going to input number one and max is number one, then number two. Then if number two is greater than max, then max equal number two. And then input number three. If number three is even greater than the max and max is number three. So this part, this is the Pascal code. So you have to introduce all the variables, input three numbers, first number and that is the maximum, second number compare and make that maximum, third number compare and make that maximum if it is larger than the maximum. So it's very simple. So how to write in Python? So you are going to input three numbers and then outputs you are going to output maximum, mx, maximum. So I'm going to input three numbers, n2, n1, n2, n3. So let's make this integers. I'm going to, after first input, I'm going to compare if, so sorry, I'm going to give the max, mx equal n1. If, then I'm going to input n2. If mx greater than this, sorry, if n2 greater than this mx, then mx is n2, then input number three, again the same thing, same comparison, I can copy and write. N3 is greater than this mx and that is n3 basically. And finally what you're going to do is print the maximum, print maximum is mx, or you can say maximum out of then can mention n1 comma n2 comma n3 is mx. Maximum out of these three is mx. Let's save the file save as. I'm going to save that now this as selection.py. I'm going to run the file. So it's asking me the first number, second number, and third number. And it says the maximum out of 34, 54, and 63 is 63. Understood?
Yes.
It's very simple. So let me run again with some another number set. You can see it's 56. It's finding the answer. It's writing the answer for us. and maybe you can in between you can add commas if you wish, just by
Mm-hmm.
adding this one. So here comma is actually the basic comma is taken to separate this comma, this comma inside the quotation to display that comma, right?
Yeah.
This is to just to give space and add this, and this is to show it. Then let me show the difference of the output, and give by giving the same 56, 45, and 32. You can see this is the difference. It will show a comma in between these numbers. Okay, you can try this, or you can write this as the
Yeah.
answer.
So there's no a dedicated like a pre-built one for Mac, like a command for Mac.
Sorry?
Is there like a pre, how do I say, already like how do I say, a command for finding the max value like in Excel?
Yeah,
Is it
it has max.
there?
Yeah, it has the max command here, max. Then you can give so the values basically, the arguments.
Oh, okay.
So it will find the 60. Okay, but that is not the
Yeah.
algorithm that is already developed on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it has, yes, it has, but the thing is, so we are not going to use that. We are going to develop an algorithm and show it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's min and max because these are pre-developed. No need to write from the scratch. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But since we are going to learn and we are going to learn the language, we have to write from the scratch and understand the concept. Right from the beginning
Yeah.
and understand the concept. Okay, better you try this.
Yeah. I'm doing it, sir.
Okay, the next concept is the third one. Okay, this one. Right. This is also similar to the, so you can do this as a homework basically. So please write the question. You can do this as a homework. So this is also for selection. Right. Please write the question. Draw a flow chart and write pseudocode to input count of books, pens, and pencils, and find out the noise total. If the total is greater than or equal to 5,000, the 10% discount should be given to the bill value. And if it is greater than 2,000, 5% discount should be given. Print the discount and total bill value. Write the Pascal or Python code or Pascal code 2. And price of book is given as 80 rupees and price of pencil is 10 rupees and pen 20 rupees. Please write the question and then do this as a homework. Let's move to the third concept, which is repetition. The third concept is about repetition. That means doing the same thing again and again. Here in repetition, basically you should identify three things. So easily you can identify the starting point. So most of the repetitions you have starting. Here, let's see, let's do this relevant to the first one. Print numbers from 1 to 10, starting from 1. Then you can identify the ending point, ending with 10. Print numbers from 1 to 10 means you have to start from 1 and ending. So what is step? Step means how you move forward. It is plus 1. Understood? So starting from 1, ending with 10, and step is plus 1. You go one by one. Right? Clear or
Yes,
not?
sir.
Okay. So what is the ending condition? Ending condition. Sorry. The ending condition. Ending condition is if, or you can say if this uh, maybe when you reach or when you exceed 10. When you exceed 10, you have to stop. So when you identify these points clearly, you can write the code easily, right? So let me show a flow chart here. So start, step, end, and ending condition. Please see this start in from 1. Then you have to check the condition. Condition is where C less than or equal to C less than or equal to 10. That is the condition. What do you have to do? Print C. First C is 1, C less than 10 years. Then print C, C is 1. Then C is C plus 1. Now C is 2. Again, you go and check whether C less than or equal to 10. Yes, 2 less than or equal to 10. Print 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 less than 10. Print C, C plus 1 is 4 now. Then again go to C, 4 is less than 10. Print it, increment by 1. So likewise, you go and print 10. 10 is not less than 10, but it is equal to 10. 10 is equal to 10. Then print C, print in 10, and add in 1 will make it 11. 11. Whether it is less than or equal to 10, 11, is it equal or less than? 11, is it less than or equal or greater than?
No, sir.
No. So then it will go and stop. So this is how you write the. So let me, okay. So please write the questions, but I'll give you time, right? I'll give you time to write the questions and do
Oh,
changes. So let's do the programming code. So pseudocode also same, right? Pseudocode also same. You can say C is 1 while C less than 10, do print C and C equals C plus 1. Then repeat the steps. Or you can tell this like this. C is 1, C equal 1 to 10, print C. There's another way to do this. C equal 1, repeat by printing C and adding C plus 1 until C less than 10. So all three are valid methods. All three are valid methods to do this. So let's go and try all three methods. I'm going to open Python again. Now I'm going to get a new file. This is my new file. Save this, close this. I'm going to try the first method. C equal 1 while C less than or equal to 10. What do you have to do? C, print C, and then you have to say C equal to plus 1. That is your first method. I'm going to write like this. Okay, this is first method. Print method 1. Print method 1, and this is my output. I'm going to end this using space. I'm going to print horizontally. Okay, let me show the results. This is repetition, REP, PY. You can see it's printing 1 to 10. Why it is printed horizontally? Because I said end is space. Don't go to the next
okay.
line. End is space. This part we discussed last day. Okay, then
Mhm.
the next method. So I can say like this. C equal 1. I can tell for C in range. You have to stop from 10. Print Z. Print C. That is your method 2. And I'm going to end this with again with the space. This is method 2. So let's see how method 2 runs. Okay, for method 2, I have to go to the next line. So let's put /n to go to a new line and start method 2. Method 1 done, method 2. Method 2, 0 to 9. What has happened? 0 to 9 means in method 2, you have to do the, actually you have to give C here. C in range 1 to 10. Not here. C in range 1 to 10. Then you can see it's going up to 9. because you have to make this 11, because it doesn't care the equal sign, it care less than sign only. So you have to give starting from 1 less than 11. Then it will work according to similar to the previous one. Here you can see the output. Let me run this again. First one and the second one. This is method 2. Then let's try with the method 3, the third one. You can say, okay, third one, you just start. You can say the third one, you can say C equal 1. You can start while true. While true, print C, C equals C plus 1. If C is greater than 10, C is greater than 10, I'm going to stop, break. That is the third method. So let me run the third method. Okay, the first method gives second method and third method, all three giving the similar output. In the third one, you can start printing without checking a condition, you start printing. It's like you jump to the river and then check whether you can swim.
Right.
But both methods, these methods, they first check whether it can swim. They first check whether they can swim, and then only they jump to the river. But in the second method, they jump to the river and then check whether they can swim in. So this is like to when you start a download, what will happen? Or when you start copying a file, it start copying the file without checking anything. It start copying the file, but in the middle, sometimes it might tell space is not enough.
Yeah.
Space is not enough. So, but it will anyway start without checking anything. It will start in the middle. It will say space not enough. Please clean some space, and then I can copy the file. So that is similar to the third one. Okay, so I
So
expect.
there's something else known as the do loop, right?
Yeah, this is called do while loop. In VB, the first method is while loop, the second method is for loop, and the third method is known as do while loop. But here you don't have do while. Instead of you have true while, true while loop. So you don't have do while in Python. But the
Right.
implementation is there. Implementation is without checking the condition, you start, and after that, if this condition violates, you break. Or if this condition is okay, you break.
Right.
Okay, I think you better write all three pseudocodes and plus the questions. Sorry, please write the questions first. This is also I'm going to give you as a homework. So I'll give the first one. The next 5 you have to try. Please write. Done? You're still writing?
I should do them now, sir.
No, not now. But just write that because then only you can do it.
Hello?
Please write it now. Don't write the answers now. Please write it now and then do as a homework. No need to do the homework now.
Okay, sir.
Do later, but please write down the question first. So please draw the flow chart. Yeah, draw the flow chart. Then after that, draw the. This is a flow chart and draw the. So write the pseudocode as well as the relevant Python code.
Yeah.
Right. Next day, you have to complete this one. So please, when before our next class, try to complete these ones. So the practical codes. So you can WhatsApp me. Yeah, you can WhatsApp me the codes. You can take screenshots and WhatsApp me the codes if you have done. So the first one, for an example, print numbers from 10 to 1. What you have to do is,
Mm.
if you have one of these, you have to change the starting position. You can take this as 10 and you can say if it is greater than or equal to 1, you have to do this. What you have to do, c equals c minus 1. So you go the reverse, then
Yes.
simply it will print that.
So only in one loop, or should I do in the other, like
What?
while do
Yeah,
and
one
all?
is enough, but you can practice with the others. So if
Okay.
you are doing 4, yeah, if you are applying 4, just say method 2, you can apply this method like to method 2. If you're using for loop, you can say for I in range. You can say 10, start from 10 and stop from 1, 0. You have to reverse. Go minus 1, minus 1 with that. Then print the I and with the C. So this C, this is not C, this I. Print I and end with space. And that is the second method. So here, the second method also print 10 to 1. So why it is 0? Because I said that this is not, it will not take this equal part. So you have to take,
Yeah.
you have to give 0, then only it will stop from 1. Because it will read as less than, so greater than 0. Greater than 0 means it will go up to 1. Okay, then the next one, print odd numbers from 1 to 20. You can start from 1. Here also you have to start from 1. And you have to go till 20, less than or equal to 20. Here also less than, you have to start and go 20. You have to go 2 by 2. Here you can say please go 2 by 2. C equals C plus 2. Go 2 by 2 and that will print odd numbers. So those are very simple things, right? Simple things. Draw the flow chart and do this odd numbers. And if you
Yeah.
start from 2 and go 2 by 2, it will be even numbers. Okay, you can practice those.
Yeah.
Please practice and send me answers. Take a print screen and send it to. With that, I'm going to stop for today. So
Uh, so our next class is tomorrow, right?
yeah, tomorrow evening, yeah, we will be discussing the. So I think you have enough time to do this. Tomorrow morning you can do.
Yeah.
In the evening you can discuss the next one. Okay, then good night. See you next day.
Good night, sir. Bye.